Hi guys, it's Bella and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm really excited because we're going to be doing our month of November wrap up. This was a really hard month for me, if I'm being totally honest. I actually got married at the end of October on Halloween, and I think my mind was just too consumed with wedding and family and fun, exciting things that November I was in like the biggest book slump I've ever been in. No book was making me want to continue. I hated them all. I DNF'd a ton of books this month, which you'll see in a second. I just really struggled with reading this month, unfortunately. So if you're interested in seeing all the books that I read in the month of November and what I rated them and what books I DNF'd, then just keep on watching. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more book content. My dogs are playing right now. Can you not do this when I'm filming? Okay, so we started off the month with The Perfect Son by Frida McFadden, which I actually ended up giving 2 stars. So we did not start the month off very great. Our main character is a mom who has 2 kids. One is a 14-year-old angsty teenager, you know, and she really drives her mom crazy. And the second is her favorite child, a 16-year-old son. He is the prodigy. He is everything that the mom wants in a child. She loves her son. A girl goes missing at the school, and our main character, our mother, believes that it is her son that committed this crime. We see the book through the eyes of the mother and of the teenager who went missing. There are also a lot of transcripts from police interviews that are thrown in every few chapters, which is really fun as well. The son claims to be innocent the whole time. He has no idea why anyone thinks that he is the reason that this girl is missing, and he's like, why does no one believe me? This was a really quick read, but oh man, was it really hard to get through. Cringy, really predictable writing, not one of my favorites from Frida. I feel like her books either hit or miss for me, and this was definitely a miss. And I guessed who the kidnapper was from the very beginning, so I didn't have that whoa reveal at the end. So if you've read this, let me know if you also guessed who it was, or if you didn't guess who it was, and what your thoughts were when you found out. We moved on to Zodiac Academy. This is the awakening as told from the boy's perspective. If you've read this series, this is book 1 retold from the 4 heirs perspective. And Zodiac Academy is one of my favorite series. I have them all right there. It's so good. And I was like, you know what? Let's go through this series again, but try to read, try to get back into this world by just reading this book. And I read, I don't know, maybe 10%, and I quickly realized I was not in the headspace for this. I don't know if I just wasn't ready to get back into this universe, or if I just don't care to read this book from their perspective. I'm not really sure. I think I would have really enjoyed to read this right after the first one, because now I've seen them get their character development. I've seen them grow and what they end up being like, and it's hard to go back to them in this book. They're insufferable. So I soft DNF'd this book for now. I don't know if I'll end up picking it back up again later when I'm more in a mood for Zodiac Academy, or if I'm just not going to read this. Then I read a really anticipated book for me. It's How My Neighbor Stole Christmas from Megan Quinn, and I loved this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It is the perfect Christmas vibes. It's like a lot of things were taken from the Grinch story, which makes it really fun when you catch that. Super, super fun writing. It almost makes you feel like you're reading a Hallmark movie, but not in a cringy way. Like, it's just so fun and goofy and cheesy and Christmassy, and it's just the perfect vibe. It's set in a small town literally named Kringle. That is Christmas all year round. They do not take their Christmas decorations down. Our female main character is coming to stay in Kringle during the holidays to take care of her aunt who recently fell and broke her hip. Our female main character and our male main character were childhood friends. They would see each other during the holidays whenever she would come to visit Kringle, and they were really close when they were kids. He is a huge grump about Christmas, okay, and definitely towards her. This was some of the most intense tension I've seen between 2 characters that really go from true enemies to lovers. It was really fun to read the tension and the hatred that they really had for each other at the beginning. It was so fun. You really believe that they hate each other. But the premise of the book is that the town has this Christmas competition every season where a few people enter, and throughout the weeks leading up to Christmas, there's different competitions, like who can make the best eggnog, who decorates their house the best, candy cane making, present wrapping, all sorts of those fun things. And our female main character enters the competition for her aunt, who normally enters, but because she had recently fallen and broken her hip, she can't enter, so she takes on the responsibility this year. And he is so angry that she joins the competition because she does not live in Kringle, that he joins the competition just to spite her and try to beat her. Tons of fun Christmas competition, tons of angst, hatred, but falling for each other. There was a small miscommunication trope at the end, but it was only a few pages, so it wasn't very unbearable, and I just really had a good time reading this. If you're seeing this video right now, go pick this video up, go pick this book up so you can read it before Christmas, because it was so fun. And I had such a good time reading that book that I was like, I need another Christmas book. So I picked up Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I quickly DNF'd this book. So it basically starts off with our main character looking at a window display while she's on the street. I think it was in New York. And a man comes up and is like, oh, what do you think about this window display? Like, it looks like you're really judging it. And she gives her harsh critiques on this window display. Little does she know, this man runs this store. And he ends up hiring her as their new window display person. And I had a really hard time with this because it was instant connection, instant attraction, instant love, which is like my literal least favorite trope of all time. And a really interesting twist is that I couldn't get on board with is our main character, female, just got out of prison. She's a convict. I don't know how I feel about that. She's been locked up for years, and it wasn't like I couldn't connect with it. It really didn't make sense why she was. I DNF'd this. And then I was like, oh my god, what is going to get me out of this DNF slump? That's 2 books that I put down, and that's not what I normally do. So I decided to pick up a fantasy. This is A Tribute of Fire. It just came out. I actually got the arc of it, which was so awesome, and I'm so glad I finally read this. Our main character, Leah, is a princess of a dying desert nation, cursed centuries ago by an earth goddess, and every year the goddess, they offer her participants a sacrifice, if you will, which is 2 maidens who are forced to compete in a life and death race to reach her temple. No maiden has ever made it out alive, but if they make it to the temple, the people at the temple know to take them in, and that is that. Our main character bribes her way into the contest because she believes that if she can get to the temple, she can find a way to cure her land from the curse of the goddess. And it's kind of Hunger Games style, like they're announcing the people that are going to be chosen, and just like Hunger Games, her sister also gets chosen. But our main character has been training for this for years, and her sister, not at all. Not at all. So she's like, oh my god, how am I going to keep myself alive when no one has ever made it, and keep my sister alive when she has no training? I had a really good time reading this book, and it was one of those moments where I got to the end and I did not realize I was at the end, and it ended and I was like, oh, no, like what? No. So that was a really good feeling. There is slight romance, but the ending makes you wonder if the male truly is the love interest or not, or if it's going to be like a twist and it's not him. It's a book where a lot happened, but not a lot happened at the same time. It almost feels like this is going to be a great setup for the next book, which comes out next year, so I'm really excited to read that. I gave this, I think, 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars. Oh, guys, we gotta talk about this book. Sky Shade by Alex Astor. This is the 3rd book in the Lightlark series. I was so excited for this book. I loved this series up until this book. Okay. It starts off immediately where Nightbane ends, which is great. If I'm being totally honest, it did not start off good. Everything was rushed. The writing was honestly so terrible, and I got about 20% in and I was like, oh my gosh, this book is actually bad. And I don't know if all of the books were this bad and I just didn't realize, or if she really lost it in this one. I don't know if I'll ever go back and try to figure that out. The entire book was rushed, extremely choppy writing. It was really hard to read. It was like bouncing from thing to thing to thing. Like the structure of this book was very disjointed. Like I wrote this down. The best way I can describe it is it was like, oh, go find this person who has this information, and then go find this guy so he can answer the question, and then go locate this relic because you're going to need it to go talk to this person. And it was just bouncing back and forth a million things, and nothing was described in detail. It was just like quick. And I was like, what is even happening? Like, you're not developing the scene, the plot, the characters, literally at all. And oh boy, did she handle this love triangle so terribly. I mean, I'm Team Oro, which is like, I don't know, I feel like the minority of what people think. Everyone loves Grimm, but you know, spoilers, I guess. you know, she finally makes her choice, but then she has dreams about the other one. She literally is with him like a few days later after she commits to one, and she still is like, oh my god, I love him so much, like I don't know what to do even though I've already committed to this person. She's just drawn it out. Oro was a waste of space in this book, and he is who I root for. She ruined Oro in this book, like ruined him. And the fact that she announced after this book came out that this is not the last book when it was supposed to be a trilogy is so triggering. It's like, this should have been the last book. You made it seem like it was gonna be. I'm done with this series. This book was so terrible. I literally don't even care to continue. And the ending, I wasn't even shocked. It's like, how this book ended is like how so many other fantasy books end, and I was just like, figures. I'm so enraged by this book. I'm so upset because I loved the other two so much. The other two were 5-star books for me. This lost me, girl. You lost me. And then I had a grand old time reading Lost and Lassoed, which is the 3rd book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage. I gave this I keep hitting myself in the face with these books. I gave this 4 stars. It is a single dad trope with the babysitter who is also his sister's best friend. Cowboy, works on the ranch, you know the vibes. She recently lost her job, so he hires her reluctantly to be his babysitter because he needs help. He's a single dad working on the ranch. This man needed help. She ends up moving into his house on the days that she babysits because it's just easier for all of them if she's really close. So it's close proximity as well. So much good banter. Lila Sage knows how to write romance, okay? She just gets it. She gets it. And the fact that her books are barely 300 pages or less, she just gets it, okay? I will say one thing is I listened to the audiobook for some of this when I was cooking, and the male voice actor sounds just like Joe Goldberg in You. Not Penn, specifically Joe. Like creepy stalker vibes, so that was kind of interesting, but I loved this book. And then this is where my slump really started to affect me. 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This took me a week to read, and I'm the type of girl that sits down and reads a book in one sitting, like 3 or 4 hours, I'm good. This took me a week to read. This has never happened to me, okay? I gave this 3.5 stars. So basically our narrator of the story wakes up in the forest in the morning, has no recollection of who he is, where he is, what is happening. He is so confused, he only remembers one name, and that is Anna. Basically the story tells the story of Aiden Bishop, who is a man forced to solve a murder of a troubled socialite. And every single day he wakes up in a different person's body who is related to the story, and he has 7-8 days to figure out who kills Evelyn Hardcastle. And he relives the same day over and over and over, just in a different body. Super fun storyline. If he fails to solve the crime, it begins a new loop over again, and based on what you learn in this, it seems like he's been living this loop thousands of times. The novel is primarily a mystery with some elements of science fiction in it as well, and fantasy. My issue, even though I loved the idea of this story, I never wanted to pick this book up, literally at all. I did enjoy it, and when I started reading I would enjoy it and want to keep reading, but just on the daily, I would not want to pick this book up. So that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay, Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This was my first book by her, even though I have one that's actually on my TBR for December. Fun. Our female main character, Lane, is going through grief, lots of self-discovery. She ends up buying an old school bus that she wants to renovate to live in. And our male main character, Matt, is in the friend group and owns a mechanic shop and decides to help Lane remodel her bus. It's basically instant attraction that leads to friends with benefits because she has major commitment issues until she realizes she can't be without him. The typical trope. It's a cute story, but it didn't blow me away by any means. I'm probably never gonna think about this book again, but it was a good little romance to get me through. Then I read Legendborn, which I actually don't have physically. I read it on my Kindle. This was another book that took me a week to read, and it was so hard to get through. It's basically a fantasy story set in modern day, kind of dark academia vibes. Backbone of the story though is dealing with grief and trauma and losing a parent. Our main character is attending an early college entrance program. Her name is Bree, and she infiltrates a society of the Legendborn, which is a group of demon hunters that have descended from the Knights of King Arthur's Round Table. Kind of fun. It's an interesting idea. It had a really unique magic system that I really haven't seen in other fantasy books, especially YA. This book never really hooked me and I struggled a lot through it. It was not that interesting to me, although the last 20% got me. It got me good, okay? And it did leave off on a good ending. It teased a possible love triangle as well, and I do have Bloodmarked, the second one in that series, so I might continue it this month. I don't know. You'll have to watch my TBR video to find out, I guess, but I gave that book 3 stars. I picked up Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan, which is my first book from her, but I heard really good things about this when it came out over the summer. Our couple meets at a dog park because her dog pees on this man's shoes and he's okay with it. He's fine with it. She's recently divorced. She's mourning the death of her mother. He skateboards. Okay. Chance of finding out after going on a date with him that it is literally her best friend's brother that she hasn't seen since he was a teenager, and now they're in their late 30s and he changed his name, and she's like, what the heck, you recognized me, why didn't you tell me who you were? And then you find out that he had a crush on her literally his entire life, and that was really cute. One positive thing I really have to say about this is it felt like an actual adult relationship, like no cheesy unbearable moments with our characters. They were having real world issues that they had to work through, which I really appreciate. I hate when it's too cheesy. It's like, this is not believable. This was a real story. It was a fun story, not groundbreaking. Again, not a crazy, super unique romance story. Didn't blow me away, but I did give it 3.5 stars. Last book that I read in the month of November is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose, which I've had on my TBR for kind of a long time, honestly. It starts off where a mom passes away and the 3 kids go back to the childhood home to clean up and get the house ready to be sold. The point of views are told by all 3 children, and there's flashback chapters told from the mother's perspective. Basically, when they're going through home videotapes while cleaning out the house, they find a tape where it looks like their dad killed someone and the mom helped him cover it up. Kids are trying to figure out, I mean, they're kids, they're the kids, but they're in their 30s. They're trying to figure out if their dad actually was capable of killing someone, and the dad has been missing for 7 years as well. That's another kind of mystery part on top of it. I had an idea who the killer was and, you know, the overall ending to the story very, very quickly. And so, like, literally by chapter 3, I was like, oh, this person did it, and I was correct. So that sucked in the way where I didn't have the crazy reveal. I wasn't super shocked. But other than that, I thought this was written like really well, and despite guessing who it was, I stayed engaged the entire time. I read it in one sitting. I didn't want to put it down. I really enjoyed her writing, and I think this is my second book I've read by her, so I'm definitely going to keep picking up her thrillers when they come out. But I gave it 3 stars only because I guessed who it was, but I would give it a higher rating because it was written really well. And that is it. That is all the books that I read this month. It was by far my worst reading month ever. I think I only actually finished 10 books, maybe only 9, when I'm normally reading over 20. So that was a little shocking to me. I didn't love that. So hopefully I can get out of this slump for the month of November. I'm posting my end of the year TBR video in just a couple days, so stay tuned for that. And let me know if you read any of the books that I talked about today and whether you enjoyed them or didn't enjoy them. I love to talk about books. And thank you guys so much for watching my videos when I post them. I love making book videos and I want to keep doing it. So subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I will see you when I post a new video. Bye!